All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Koroma. We will get started really soon in about a minute or so. There are more people coming into the webinar, so just want to give folks about a minute and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I see some people that we know. Great.
So we will start in a minute. Again, we see more people are joining the webinar. Just want to make sure we give folks just 1 minute for them to join and then we'll get started.
Okay. Oops.
Okay, it's 9:01. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Koroma. I'm the business liaison officer here in Montgomery County. I've always been, it's been a privilege for my colleague, Ruth Simple, who is the economic development manager at the Department of Finance, to join me as we go through these webinars. This is our second week of webinars, and we're also going to continue this next week. We started the webinars as a way of getting businesses and nonprofits to prepare for the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant Program. And then when we went live this week, we continue, but change the format a little bit into a Q&A session so that those folks who may be having challenges or may have questions about the application itself, for us to be able to answer those questions. And that's the format we will continue in, which is I'll give a high-level overview of the program itself, but then I'll turn it over to my colleague Ruth, who will talk about in terms of some updates. We want to make sure we're giving you updates as we go along. And then from there, we want to open it up for Q&A. So let me just say now, if you have questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat box, and we'll read them out and try to answer those questions as we go along. So again, if you're here, that means you want to learn or know more about the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant Program, which was $20 million that the county government has set up to assist nonprofit and for-profit businesses that are facing a significant loss in revenues in the month of March here in Montgomery County. The eligibility for the program itself, once a business or nonprofit demonstrates a significant loss in revenue, and that significant loss in revenue is 50% or greater loss in revenue in the month of March, they are eligible to receive up to $75,000, which is what the legislation stipulates. In addition to that, there's also a telework grant, which a nonprofit or for-profit business can also receive up to $2,500 to buy a telework hardware or software. Again, you have to be eligible for the entire program in order for you to receive the additional $2,500, up to $2,500 for telework grant. Your principal place of business must be in Montgomery County, or if 50% or more of your employees work here in Montgomery County. And that's under eligibility. So this is the website. I know all of you are seeing the website that I'm sharing right now. I'm just going to highlight the web address. You can go there and you see everything that we're talking about. Plus, this is the site that you can go to as well to apply. Again, also the program was set up for nonprofit and for-profit businesses that have 100 or fewer employees. And again, you have to demonstrate a significant loss in revenues as a result of the COVID-19. The period at which we're looking at is when the governor announced the executive order, which is from March 5th and towards the end of March. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ruth and take it away, Ruth.
Yes, hi. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday morning. Thank you for joining us. We're hoping to walk a lot of people through these grants. As Daniel said, my name is Ruth Semple. I work in the Montgomery County Department of Finance on economic development programs, and I've been joining Daniel out talking to the community. And also, I am actually one of the reviewers of grants, so I can give you some greater insight into what's happening on the back end after these applications are submitted. I'd like to add a couple of numbers and details to Daniel's comments. I'd like to let you know that the county has also mandated that we're going to reserve or set aside or ensure that a minimum of 25% of this $20 million grant goes out to retail and restaurants. So we're watching that. It's a minimum. It doesn't have to be the max. It's a minimum. So that's another number in there. I will also share with you that what we are doing now is we are currently going through the first 1,000 applications. And each of those applications, we are going to fund up to $10,000. And then we're going to take a pause, probably not a very long pause, but take a pause and look at our initial, the data that we've collected, what's happening in the program, and make any necessary adjustments. So I just want to let you know that you might not get a payment for $75,000 at this point, right? At this point, we are funding applications up to 10, and then we'll see where we are. So as of this morning, we have received just a little over 4,800 applications. That's 4,800 applications. I can tell you that we started reviewing them right away. We're going to be working all weekend to review. There are 25 that have already been approved, and they're in the process for money to go out the door. We have a couple of more that are approved and waiting for to get their grant letters, their notices that they've been awarded. We've got about 100, we've got about 80 or so that are in some sort of follow-up stage. We have 650 that are out to reviewers, people like me, to actually do reviews. So I would share with you that of the 4,800 applications we received, there's a handful that are already done, and we are currently reviewing 650. So we are trying to get through them as quickly as we can. I will also tell you that once you submit your application, you will get an email that confirms your application. You'll have a copy of it, and it will also give you an application number. And it will tell you in that email, if you have further questions or need to reach back out to us, use that number and we'll give you an email address to contact us. Also, in many cases, I know for myself and fellow reviewers, I'm getting applications that are maybe not quite right. And so I'm following up with those applicants to try to make sure that we do the very best we can for all of you who are submitting applications. So we are crunching and processing as fast as we can. So with that, the application is still open. We're still accepting. So please continue to submit. Even though we have a lot, please continue to submit. I will tell you that County Council is looking at putting additional money into this program, and there's a hearing on that next week, public hearing, so you can get on the County Council website and watch and listen to what they're doing there. So keep close to this webpage, keep close to County Council, and so that we can try to help you as best we can. Okay. So with that, do we want to open up for questions, Daniel, or do you want?
Well, yeah, I just want to highlight a couple of more things on the webpage.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've been talking about the center of the page. I also want to bring folks' attention to the right-hand side of the page. We have webinars that are scheduled. So if, there are additional webinars, but I also want to call out some of the webinars we have. We have a webinar for our Amharic speaking, nonprofits and small businesses. We have a webinar for our Spanish speaking small businesses and nonprofits as well. And these are all the webinars that we're doing throughout next week. So I just want you to be aware of that. Let me go back to the homepage and also highlight for some of you, before you fill out the application, we actually have FAQs right here. So if there's some questions that you may have, and most likely we may have answered some of your questions. So you can download the FAQ and just go through them. Also, what we've done is that we have a sample application on the website as well. So the good thing about the sample application, it actually allows you to see all of the questions before you then go to the online form, because the online form would not let you go to the next page without filling all the required fields on the first page or the second page. But the sample application then gives you, as I say, all the questions so that you can prepare, or you already know what the questions are as you fill out the application. Lastly, we also have organizations that have, they've been trained and they've agreed to help businesses and nonprofits that may have problems filling out the application. So I'm just going to make sure I highlight that. And if you go there, you'll see that we have a lot of our chamber partners, business groups that are, and nonprofit groups as well, that have agreed to work with us. We also call out the language capacity. So if you know any, or if you are, again, if you need help in various languages, like Mandarin, Vietnamese, Korean, Spanish, Amharic, you are able to call or email these organizations, and they will be able to assist you. Again, the county executive and the county council emphasize that we need to make sure that as many of our businesses and nonprofits, which includes minority businesses and ethnic nonprofits, are aware of this program, but also have the opportunity to apply for the program. With that being said, Ruth, let's go to Q&A.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let me see. The first question is, we do not have 2018 or 2019 taxes completed. Is there an alternative information source acceptable for submission? Tracy, we're looking for 2 years of historic financials. So it's really going to be important for you to establish, again, I would say for us to be able to establish an average monthly revenues and then compare that to the month of March. So I would say, I don't know the reason why you haven't filed the 2018, but definitely if you don't have 2019, that's fine. But 2018, 2017 is what we're looking for. But go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, I've dealt with a couple situations like this.
Okay.
So if you don't have your 19s, don't worry about that. If you have your 18s and 17s, we'll accept those. I imagine you have already filed 18 and maybe you are, preparing amendments or something. The numbers that we're looking at is the top line revenue. So I would imagine that the original tax returns that you filed for 18, the top line revenue number would not have changed. So go ahead and send us your 17s and your 18s tax returns. And then it's very important to send us your current information for the month of March. If you have less than 5 employees, you can send us a bank statement for March. That shows us what money went into the business bank account in March, and we will we'll call that your revenue for the month of March. And then we will compare that to a 24 period monthly average. So we take 17s and we'll take original 18s. If that does not answer your question,
Ruth,
try again.
Actually, Tracy, can you unmute yourself just to make sure that you're filing amendment for 18? Can you unmute yourself and explain exactly what you mean by that?
Oh, should I just say thank you? That was really helpful.
Good. You're welcome.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Oh. Should I say to them, though, thank you,
No,
that was
don't say.
helpful? Don't even answer?
Oh, yeah, what are you typing it in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Tracy. And let's go to the next question. The first 1,000 will get up to 10,000, then recess. Again, it's not necessarily recess, but Ruth, why don't you talk about the,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, this is correct. So we're going to process the first 1,000.
Mhm.
The first 1,000 that are eligible will receive up to $10,000.
Mhm.
And then, yes, we are going to take a pause and reassess and look at what's been happening and potentially make adjustments from there.
Okay.
So yes, that is correct.
Okay. Sounds good. The next question is, we closed on March 27th and we had our business, and my business has lost income from April 1st. What about April?
Mm-hmm.
It's our future losses. You want
Yeah.
to go ahead, Ruth?
Sure. So the program as it stands now, we cannot issue a grant based on future losses. Although we know there will be future losses, we feel the pain that of folks, businesses, and organizations who are already looking out into the future, and they've got cancellations and canceled projects and all kinds of losses that they are anticipating. But as the program stands right now, we can only calculate a grant and consider funding based on historical demonstrated loss, which for right now is the month of March. When we get into April, if you have actual losses in April, go ahead and put in an application then. I'm hoping that the program will still be open, we'll still be collecting, we'll still have funding, but that would be the time when you could submit an application, when you have a demonstrated loss. We have another question here about the application numbers are somehow in the 5,000s. That is correct. That's because we have 4,800 applications so far, and we did a whole bunch of internal testing ahead of time. So the fact that it's in 5,000s, that's just where we are.
And Ruth, can I also just add to that? Just because the application numbers are 5,000 doesn't mean that's your position in place, right? So this is not a first come, first serve program.
Right.
So it's based on eligibility. So just because you have an application number that is 5,000 doesn't mean you're the that's your position in terms of review, or position in terms of granting you funds for the program. Okay. The next question that I'm seeing, it says, how are the scheduled webinars different from the Zoom meetings today? Brooke, the scheduled webinars are, I would say they're almost the same, because as I said, this is our second week in doing these webinars. The first week when we started with our business resource partners, their chamber partners and other nonprofit and for-profit business groups, was to get them to help us to help businesses and nonprofits that would be applying. And then last week we opened it up a little bit to the public. All our focus was making sure we get the word out, but also make sure people prepare for the application. And towards the middle of this week, we switched to Q&A, because we know many folks who have heard about the program may have questions about the program. So we give just a high-level overview like what we did today, and then we go right into Q&A just to make sure we're able to make use of this time. So that's basically what's going to continue. We will still make sure we give a high-level overview of the program so that folks know exactly in terms of what is it the program is about, but we'll also point people to this website, which I'm highlighting right now. That's the web link. Please come to this site regularly, because that's where all the updates that we will be providing will be. And so we want to make sure that people know about the program, but more importantly, we want to be able to answer your questions if you do have any.
And the email.
Oh,
That's
yes,
there.
that's correct. So there's an email at the bottom of right here where it goes, where we say apply. This is the email address that we are receiving questions. So if you have any questions after reviewing the page or maybe after applying, just send an email to that email, thesinfo@montgomerycounty.md.gov, and a bunch of us have access to that email and we'll respond to it.
Yes. I think we missed a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Someone asked if they applied for any of the federal programs,
Mhm.
should they still apply for the county grant? Yes. You are not precluded from applying to the county program if you've applied for state or federal money. We will ask you if you have applied, but you don't have to provide evidence. It doesn't kick you out of the county program. Somebody once, and they asked, what will happen if you get approved for more than one grant? That would be fabulous.
That is
You know,
correct.
that's
In fact,
correct.
we're encouraging you to apply for all other programs.
Yeah.
Okay. So Julie said, great resource list. Thank you, Julie, for that. We thought through the whole process and knew that it was going to be almost impossible, but it just made sense for us to get our business resource partners engaged in this, because these are folks who, again, are connected to many businesses here in Montgomery County and nonprofits as well. So we want to make sure that, again, many of them, again, stood up and are helping not only the businesses and nonprofit, but also they're helping us as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
Please recognize them whenever you talk to any of them. All right. Next question is, how does applying for this grant and possibly receive it affect applying for an employment for sole proprietors? That's a good question. So if you're a sole proprietor and you've already applied for unemployment, clearly that's the right thing to do because of the funding that's coming through unemployment and the generous benefits that unemployment is now from the federal government, but also the restrictions that have been lifted from the state government. So we do encourage you, if you've applied, that's fine. If you're going to apply, that's fine. Ruth, all I know is that if you're receiving funds from one program, right, you cannot use those funds, you cannot use our funds for the same purpose. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you get some federal money or state money and you apply that to payroll, and then you tell us you're also going to apply that to payroll, we're looking for you not to use the same money. Use money for the same purposes. However, we also recognize that at this point in time, a lot of people have applied for federal and state money and don't know if they're going to get it yet.
That's
so
correct.
when we ask you how you're going to spend the money, we recognize that may change based on what funding you do or do not get from other resources. But we also, in this process, will be, if you are eligible, you're approved, we will be sending you a grant agreement that includes some terms and conditions. And one of those terms and conditions is that the county will have the right to come and audit your financial records and the information that you've provided. So I don't know how we're going to go about that yet, but it will give us the ability, if needed, to check to see that you've hopefully used the money appropriately. So I would, if you get grant money and you spend it on however you need it, I would encourage you to keep receipts and track that in the event you are audited. We don't have restrictions on how you can spend your money. We do expect you to spend it on appropriate, business expenses that you need, that you would have no problem providing evidence of if we do an audit. I see a question here. It's a very good one. Someone asked if we were charging for audits. Is it a one-time audit or every year? We have not gotten that far along in the process. So it's a great question. And I don't have a good answer for you. So sit tight on that one.
All right. The next question is 990s and tax submissions. So Miriam, I think if you're a nonprofit, yes, we're looking for your 990s, 2 years of it. If you've been in existence for over 2 years, or if you file, 2 years taxes, it could be 2019, 2018. If you haven't filed for 2019, it could be 2018 and 2017. And then also, don't forget, we also need interim financials for the month of March, because that will provide the in terms of the comparison, but also the loss in revenues. Okay. The next question is, thank you for hosting this meeting. For auditing. Okay. I think that's the one you took.
Yeah, I just covered that one. I wrapped it all in together.
All right, there you go. The next question is, we lost money in March, but we'll see a significant loss in April. We're scheduled for a loss of income in April and May. Should I still apply? So as the program is currently defined, a significant loss in revenue would be 50% or more in the month of March. So Julie, if you have not lost, first of all, I would not discourage anyone from applying for the program, but however, if you have not seen a 50% or more loss in revenues in March, and you anticipate those, those significant loss in April, then I think it makes sense for you to apply in April. Ruth?
Yes, absolutely. I've looked at a couple of applications and I've had to deny them because some people actually made money in March, or they didn't hit the 50% loss number. And this is a loss in revenue, top line revenue that we're looking at, and that's a denial. You can submit later on when you have an actual loss, but this program as it stands now is for historical demonstrated losses, which right now is the month of April. I'm sorry, month of March, excuse me.
There you go.
I'm reading and talking at the same time, sorry.
That's okay.
We're looking at March.
All right, the next question is, what if money going in for March was money we received for service performed in February? So the loss is real in April when we are going to, okay, so I think Ruth covered that already. Yes, so if revenues are coming in March, and you cannot show that significant loss, which is 50% or greater, then yes, you would not be eligible, or if you apply, you will be denied. However, as Ruth indicated earlier, if the significant loss occurs in April, because let me also say that we don't have a deadline or a closing date for the application. So as Ruth alluded to a little bit earlier, if we receive additional funding, then what would happen is that those who have realized a significant loss in revenues in April will go ahead and submit their applications in April.
Right. Submit when you have a loss.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Man, you just summarized that in just one, few words. That's real.
Yeah. Someone is asking if they are an independent contractor, would you qualify? The answer is yes. Sole proprietors and independent contractors do qualify.
You need to submit your Schedule C in your personal taxes. Just take out the Schedule C. We also know that the Schedule Cs are not signed. So we'll just go ahead and send the Schedule Cs, 2 years of that, and then also the month of March, send your bank statement for the month of March. Okay. All right, the next question is, all right, thank you. If there are Spanish speakers with questions, can you help try to answer, translate Latino economic development? And that's Javier. Okay, yeah, there you go. Let's take a pause. I wasn't sure if, I know Richard is not with us, but I'm happy Javier has joined us. Javier is with the Latino Economic Development Center. They're one of our resource partners. So just going to take a pause. Javier, can you just,
Well, wait a minute. Why don't we see if we have any Spanish speakers on the line?
Well, I was going to ask him to, because we cannot say that in Spanish, so he has to say it in Spanish. So Javier, can you just please ask if anyone has a question in Spanish?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sí, buenos días a todos. Buenos días, Daniel. Buenos días, Ruth. Sí, lo que Daniel acaba de decir, de que si hay alguna pregunta en español durante esta sesión, yo, mi socia aquí, Melissa Romero, también está presente durante esta sesión y podemos tratar de responder las preguntas o también traducir para que Daniel y Ruth las respondan. Y,
Can you please also say that they can also post their questions on the chat box as well, and then we will get you to translate, and either Ruth or I will answer the questions.
ok, sí, lo que Daniel acaba de decir, que también pueden poner sus preguntas a través de la función de chat aquí al lado y también se la podemos tratar de responder o traducir para que Daniel y Ruth las respondan.
Thank you, Javier. All right, Ruth, let's go ahead.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So the next question is on the application for the section asking for percentage of funds. I believe this is the use of funds that
Right.
you intend to use. Okay. The expenditure. What should they be based off? Should they assume that they're getting $10,000?
So we're just asking, first of all, this question does not impact your eligibility or the amount of the grant you're going to receive.
That's right.
This is for information that we're tracking to get a sense of what people's needs are and how you would intend to spend the money. So if you want to assume, you can make whatever assumptions that you need to. These are just percentages. And frankly, I think I would base it off of the $10,000. That's not unreasonable. But this is an information we're collecting to inform us, but this does not impact a company's ability to be eligible or to actually receive a grant. So don't get hung up on this.
Yeah.
Next
Ruth,
question is really good. Sure.
Can I just quick? So for those who have not applied yet, or for
Uh-huh.
our business resource partners and chambers who will be helping people apply, please note that when you get to the use of funds question, please advise people not to put a percentage sign. I've
Yes.
seen a couple of businesses and nonprofits who, after putting the percentage sign, when they click next, it gives them an error. And when they go back and take out the percentage sign and click next, they're not able to go further. So if that happens to any business or nonprofit, please tell them to clear the cache on their browser, because what happens is that as they're filling out the form, the forms, the browser is caching the data, and so that percentage sign creates an error because there's already a percentage sign on that column. So please, if anyone again calls you and say, hey, we're not able to go past this page, that might be the reason. But what they would need to do is to clear the cache from the browser, close the browser, and open up the browser. They'll need to start all over again. So please let them know that they don't need to put the percentage sign. Just put the numbers.
Just the number.
Yes, right. Just the numbers is what they need to do, and then it'll be okay. Sorry about that, Ruth. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's a good point. Do I need to convert IMG files to PDF files? No. From what I'm understanding, we're able to accept lots of different types of files. So just send in what you have.
The only addition to that is make sure you're not using a proprietary software, right? So I know some accounting softwares are proprietary. Make sure you're not, because we may not have a version of that software here, so we won't be able to, to convert the file that you may have saved in a proprietary software. We may not be able to convert. We're not able to convert it because we don't have the same software that you're using. But
Wow.
Anything you submit in PDF actually is the way to go. If you have PDF, JPEG, all the other files, image files are all fine.
Daniel and Ruth, do you mind if I chime in a little bit during this question? It's Javier.
Go ahead, Javier.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, because we've been helping people fill out this application, and we do get like photos from, phones sometimes, so people that don't have scanners at home.
Right.
And sometimes a document comes in like multiple screenshots or multiple files. And what we've found is that for each document requirement, you can't upload multiple files. It has to be all in one. So like if somebody goes and takes a picture of each of their page of their tax return that they're going to submit, they can't submit every single page. They have to combine them, and they have to have the technology to combine all of these shots into one file. And so otherwise they can't upload the file. And there's an option to check that you can't upload your files, but I don't know how that affects how someone's application gets processed.
So those are falling into the follow-up bucket. I've had a couple of those, and I will open up those applications. And if I see any trouble with documentation like that, then I will follow up with the applicant and try to sort that out.
Yeah, so Javier, a best practice will be, again, they can take those screenshots and put them into a Word document and just save it into as one document, right? So if you do multiple screenshots, you put it into Word and you can just save that Word document and it gives you that one document and they can upload that Word. Again, that's the best, it's the best, that's just the best practice.
Yeah, no,
that's a great idea.
That's a good idea. I'll start suggesting that to my clients. Just as long as it doesn't make that file too big, I guess. That was like one concern that I had. It wouldn't.
I mean, these are like kilobyte size files, so it wouldn't.
Okay.
It would.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay. We have a couple of questions here that are basically along the idea of future losses. You know, a training in this month is going to impact our revenue in April. Will there be grants for future losses? Many nonprofits are having to cancel their big fundraisers. We hear you. We know that's an issue for many, particularly those that are on an accrual basis as opposed to a cash basis businesses. And again, I can share with you that the program as it stands now, we can only fund demonstrated historical losses. When you do have demonstrated losses in the future, submit your application then. And hopefully we'll be able to deal with them.
Yep.
Someone wants to know, is it possible to get a sample of the grant agreement?
I would say no to that because we don't want to set the expectation that, it's those who are getting, those who are eligible and also will be granted are the ones that will receive the grant agreement. Is that correct? I know we have the application, a sample online, but what do you think? You think?
Yeah, the grant agreement itself is what we call a letter agreement. It's fairly user friendly. We have already put on our website some of the major terms and conditions that we want people to be aware of. So I'm not sure that a sample would provide much more information. And I just think I would hate to put it out there and have people sign it and send it in thinking that they're going to get a grant. I think that would be create a lot of problems.
I agree with you. And so, because remember, once someone receives that email, they need to sign that and send it back to us. And we don't want to confuse anyone. That's more like towards the granting process. Like it's almost towards the middle of the process for them to be granted the funds. We don't want to start with that in the beginning, that's why we're letting people know what the process is, so you know the timeline. That the faster you get, as soon as you get it, if you can just sign it and send it back to the reviewer or someone who is processing the grant, the better it is. But I don't think we would not provide the grant agreement on this website. We've provided all the other information on the website.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 2020 financial information. I have been emphasizing the month of March. The website asks you can do a quarterly P&L, a monthly P&L, or bank statements for 2020. What we are finding is that we think it is really better for people to submit only a P&L or a bank statement specifically for the month of March. The reason is, if we get a quarterly financial statement, it just says, from January 1 to March 31st, we've had revenues of, say, $300,000. And we have to take an average and we say, okay, that means then for March, it was a $100,000 loss. But that may not be the case. So what we're doing now is when somebody sends us a broad quarterly statement like that, we are going back to them and asking them and see if we could get just for March. If you send us a quarterly statement that says January is distinct from February, is distinct from March, we're going off the March. So I just want people to understand that. So try to, if you can, help us focus on March. It seems to be helping people the most.
So I just want to highlight that we're reading the questions in the chat box. After we're done with those questions, then if anyone raised their hands, we'll go to you for you to unmute yourself to ask a question. The next question is, can we call you to discuss submitted applications? Jay, I would say you would hear from any of the reviewers like Ruth if additional information is needed. Because of the shared volume, I mean, it's like, it's not easy right now. I mean, I would prefer for Ruth to be reviewing applications, to even be here with me right now. But it's good. It's good that she's here.
Some applications are coming in super clean and easy to process. We love that. But there are a lot that aren't, as you might expect. So in those situations, we're going to send you an email and either ask clarifying questions, we may even ask you for additional or different financial documentation to help us come to a good decision. We're putting all those in email so that it's in writing for you and for us. So I would not pick up the phone to discuss. I think it's better to submit in writing. And if a reviewer has a question, they'll reach out to you for sure by email. We're all doing it. Someone wants to know. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Who is this?
Okay. This is Jay.
Yes, Jay. Go ahead real quick because we want to go through.
No, thank you very much. Because when I did the application, I wasn't sure about the financials, and this call is very helpful. So I just did the March bank statement because I'm a very small company. I own a service, and I have two guys that work with me. So I wasn't real clear on how to proceed with what you needed.
Yeah, I think for you, the easiest and fastest is to send in your March bank statement.
I sent it right now already.
Good. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. The next question is, I've had over 50% loss of earnings in March, but my March bank statement includes deposits from February. How can I demonstrate the March loss from the bank statement?
Right. So actually, your March bank statement shouldn't have too many deposits from February. It might reflect business that you did in February that's now coming in March. But if the bank statement doesn't work for you for whatever reason, then send us your P&L for the month of March.
Yep. Okay. The next question is, as a sole proprietor, teaching artists, income fluctuates throughout the year, which is not reflected in the Schedule C.
Right. This is exactly why we're asking for 2 years of tax returns, so that we can calculate a historical average for every business, because there are businesses that fluctuate, there's ups and downs, there's outlier months, outlier years. So if we get 2 years, we can come up with a reasonable average monthly revenue for your operation. And then we're comparing that revenue number with the revenue for March.
All right. The next question is, if we submit losses for April on April 20th, 10 days before the end of the month, will that count as showing actual losses for April, or do we need to wait until after April 30th to submit April's losses? So Andrea, I think I would suggest, first of all, that again, we're looking at losses in March right now and not April. And when we start looking at the losses in April, then at that time we will inform everyone who have that significant loss in revenues to start applying in April. Ruth, is that correct?
Yeah. If you submit losses for April 10 days before the end of the month, that will count as showing actual losses for April, or do we need to wait? I think when we're going to be looking for a full month,
That's correct.
Is my guess. That's a good question. But I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Okay. The next question is, for those who work out of their home, are those expenses? That is,
Yes, the answer is yes. Whatever
Okay.
business expenses you legitimately claim on your taxes, you can use for the grant. You can use grant money to pay.
Perfect. Okay. All right, I see somebody, Denise and Javier are chatting. Okay, that's fine. You can go ahead and chat. Let me see. The next question is, need to leave for another meeting. Thank you for the great information updates and your work. Oh, that is nice. Thank you so much, Julie, for that. All right, so I think we're at the end of the questions on the chat box. We have about 10 minutes left. If anyone who raised their hands earlier, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I have a quick question. I guess I might have missed it because I did write it in the chat. If somebody applies in March and they don't get funds, are they able to reapply in April, or with the same? Well, I guess no, because you would have to show the losses in April.
Right.
Okay, so you are able to apply, but it would have to be a whole new application. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. Is there a way to maybe say, like, just explain in the text box of the application that they'd like to reapply in April or something? Because I guess the only difference would be, right, to have to submit the financials for April.
Yeah, if we have an application now that does not qualify because they've not had enough losses, it will be declined. If going forward, someone submits a new application for losses, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think I would reference the original application number, because we'd still be able to find like your historical financials, things like that. I think I would reference your original application number. That will help us put all the pieces together.
Okay.
Melissa, that's a great question. But I also kind of have a follow-up to that. I'll be quick. So what happens if somebody can't get all their stuff together for March, and then can they submit March and April at the end of April? Is that an option, or do you just suggest people get ready now?
We haven't come across that, because that's,
no,
in the future, I don't have an answer to that. I would say get ready and submit when you have April losses.
Exactly.
We'll have to take this back to the team and discuss this, because this is a processing questions. It's a technical question.
Exactly.
We have to consider the county, the capacity for receiving, additional documentation. This is a good question, and we'll take it back to the team.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ruth. Any other
questions? Bailey here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Hi, John.
Okay. I'm an independent high school math science tutor, and I asked a couple questions before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always deposit my session checks. I could deposit them the next month, which is what happened in March. So my March deposit shows work from February. So unless I mark up my bank statement, which is a personal bank statement, I don't have a business account, it won't be clear that my earnings in March dropped.
Yep.
John, can you do a P&L for March in terms of?
I don't even know what that means.
A profit and loss statement?
How do I get that? I've never done one.
Okay.
All I do is I use my personal banking account as my business account. It all goes into the same pot.
Right. I would encourage you to put together a profit and loss, which shows your revenue that you've earned And it doesn't really matter when it was when the check was deposited, but
Exactly.
it shows I did this work in the month of March for this student and I earned X dollars. It reflects what you've earned, not what you've actually deposited in the bank account. And then you show your expenses, like you might have, gas expenses for traveling to your tutoring session. And in the end, you have a net profit, right? So that's kind of what a P&L looks like, so that you know what your revenue is that you've earned, what your expenses were, and what the net is. And if you can put that together for the month of March, that might more accurately reflect what's been happening in March.
So this can just be handwritten. It doesn't have to be some form.
I think it can be handwritten,
Yeah.
and I would sign it on the bottom and say, this is true and accurate, and put your name and date on it.
And should I do it for also January and February, because otherwise you won't know the loss?
Well, we're going to
No.
look for we're going to compare to historic.
So
So
your
this is
Schedule
where your
C from
tax
your-
returns are
there
going
you
to
go.
come into play, your Schedule
good.
Cs.
Mhm.
This is where we'll be able to calculate.
My income varies, not tremendously, but significantly from month to month. Like this-
That's why we take 2 years and we calculate an average so that we can accommodate fluctuations in revenue.
Okay, I'll just send along what I can do.
Send your Schedule Cs and
Yep.
and do a P&L for March and sign and date it that it's all true and accurate, and we'll do the best we can. And we do have the ability to follow up with you and ask questions. So
Okay, good. Thank
do
you.
your best, and we'll do
Okay.
our best.
I just want to say one quick thing. We have been providing some of our clients that we're helping with the applications. We've been providing them a template, like an income statement template for them to fill out.
Who is this?
Oh,
this-
Melissa, I'm with T.
Okay. Melissa, you with LEDC?
Yeah, with
Oh,
Javier.
Okay.
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 We have been providing some clients with a template that they can submit as the P&L sheet.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
John, if you want that, we can forward that to you as well.
All right.
I can't hear you, but
All right, we have a few more minutes left. A question just came in. Will applications be processed on a rolling basis? The answer to that is yes. In fact, I mean, everyone is working throughout the weekend. We worked last weekend, we worked this weekend, we're looking to work next week. The goal is the county executive wants us to get this money out as soon as possible. So we're doing our best to make sure. And we all need to thank folks like Ruth who are in the back, especially Ruth, because she's also joining us here. She answered a lot of the
Thank you.
questions.
Happy to do it.
Yep. All right.
Okay. Somebody wants to know what's the estimated time to receive a decision. I can't really give you an answer to that. I mean, I can tell you that every application I look at takes, we're so far of the first, couple hundred that we've done, we think it's taking about half hour to 45 minutes per application. Some are really fast, and others take more time to sort through. Some you have to get back with people to try to clarify and get more accurate information to make a decision. So it's really hard to know what is the estimated time to receive a decision. I don't have a concrete answer for you there. Someone wants to know also about depositing checks in multiple bank accounts. I don't know how you can best help sole proprietors. Again, this is where we're going to look at your historical tax returns, your Schedule Cs, and if a bank statement doesn't work for you, then hopefully you can put together a profit and loss statement for 2020 for March too. Here's a good question. Somebody wants to know if it affects the unemployment. I don't think so. I think if you get a grant from the county, I don't think it affects your ability to file for or receive unemployment.
That is correct.
The grant is not considered like income, like from another job, which does affect your, what you have to file for unemployment, but no.
Okay. I see someone post about a site. Again, let me be clear that we're not recommending any site. As Ruth and I had stated, I mean, a basic P&L, which you write your, in terms of your revenues and then expenses, and then, net profits, sign it at the bottom is fine. You can handwrite it and send it to us. But again, if you have a spreadsheet that you use, you can also do that, sign it and send it to us as well.
Yeah, whatever's easy for you,
Exactly.
as long as it's true and accurate.
Mhm. We have about 3 more minutes. Is it not considered income? Oh, okay,
Oh.
that's Javier. Okay,
No,
okay.
it's not considered, it is, grant revenue, grant funds are generally taxable. But you should check with your CPA and your accounting people about how grant money will impact your taxes. So that is different from if you are filing for unemployment and you are collecting unemployment. You are supposed to, along the way, report income that you receive. So we don't want to confuse unemployment reporting with tax reporting.
That is
but
correct.
Grants are generally taxable. And someone wants to know, will recipients receive a 1099? Yes, you will receive a 1099.
There you go. So I think that answers that. All right. So we'll take one more question. If you haven't asked a question on the chat box or live question, and you have a question, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Since I already sent you the 2017 and 2018 taxes, will sending 2019 taxes help?
I don't know. I don't know what your 17 and 18 say. We will use the 17 and 18 to calculate a historical monthly average top line revenue number that we will then be comparing to hopefully your March 2020 top line revenue number.
All right. So with that being said, Ruth, any final update or advice for folks before we wrap up?
No, we've covered a lot of territory here. Thank you all for your great questions. Every time we do one of these, we get new questions, which is wonderful. It helps us think this through. We appreciate that, and we will keep working our way through this. So pay attention to our website and stay safe. And thank you all for your participation and support.
Absolutely. And I just want to highlight quickly, there are flyers that we have. Please, if you know of nonprofits and businesses that needs to apply, maybe they may need the information in Amharic, in French, in Korean, in Mandarin, in Spanish, in Vietnamese. You can please share any information we have on the site, or if someone who's also applying that you know of have any questions, please tell them to come here, and then they can join our next webinar. Again, the webinars are listed right here, so please again share this with anyone who you think may need help. And then finally, anyone who may need help filling out the application, please highlight the resource partners that we have listed here, and they'll be able to assist. With that being said, again, we want to thank everyone. We know these are difficult times. Please stay home, stay safe. And until next time, we will end the session here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Hi, I'm Daniel with Buzz 365 Media. We do in-person and remote live stream video productions. If you are having technical difficulties setting up a virtual meeting, conference, or workshop, give me a call. Buzz 365 Media is here to help you.